My name is Amanda Fields, your proud RCAW Executive Director, here today with Anna Anderson, CEO of Art Unlimited, who understands marketing data and how to drive success. As a second generation owner, Anna is leading the way within multiple industries and specialties. She speaks on national stages across the United States and will always drive your company to success. There is so much more I can say about Anna, but I'll let her share with you all of her achievements. Anna, please take it away.
Awesome. Hey, thanks so much, Amanda, for allowing me to share. And I'm excited because marketing is always changing, right? And evolving. And that's one of the exciting yet sometimes daunting components of running a marketing campaign. So if you are watching today and you have questions, or Amanda, you have questions, feel free to ask. And I'm happy to jump in and kind of walk through what do those questions look like and how to conquer them and empower your marketing to step up to the next level. So let's go ahead and jump in, and I'll share my screen. So as Amanda shared, I am a second generation owner of Art Unlimited. And one thing that I have come to understand very well is the fact that marketing is always evolving and changing. There are trends that I see some contractors say, oh, that's a has-been. It is something that worked back then, doesn't work today, or didn't work a couple of years ago, and so I'm not going to try it again. And what I would say is marketing is like fashion. Obviously, I'm a woman, right? So what I see is there are some forms of marketing that maybe my father would run 20, 30 years ago, or we would run 5 years ago, and then it stopped being effective. What I would say is in all of your marketing endeavors, please make sure to retest things from time to time. We have seen a significant shift in users after the pandemic. And although we're very tired of hearing about the pandemic, the one thing that I realize is consumer buying patterns have changed. They've changed significantly, and some old things are now new things. So just be aware of that as we kind of walk through this data. Data should really be speaking to you. So things to be aware of is anytime you are marketing your company, and this is exactly what I was leading into, you have to track what is being driving opportunities for you. What is making success happen? So here's key things that I recommend. Track where your leads are coming from. What are those lead sources? Many times people say, well, leads are up or leads are down. You can't just have that general pulse, right? You need to understand that piece. Then also track from sales and marketing. So marketing will come and say, hey, we have lots of opportunities. And sales says it's dead. Or vice versa. Sales will say, man, we're swamped. And marketing says, we need to work harder. So having that communication back and forth between those teams is essential. And I've done some presentations just on that piece. And it's amazing how many times those two teams don't talk together, but when they do talk together, great things happen. So understanding your sales team's pain and they know what your customer's pain is allows you to be a really effective marketer. And then when you track all of these different pieces, you will have the ability to really move from that unstable marketing model to one of stability. And that's the key thing. Because you have all of the tracking components, you can work towards predicting how to drive opportunities for your business rather than being in a reactive mode. I see a lot of contractors who have been in a reactive mode their entire business cycle, and they don't understand how to drive that success. And just what we were talking about will lead them to a successful outcome. So with that being said, those are the three key components: lead source, cost per lead, and what is your lead goal? Get those pieces dialed in. you'll have success. So how do we do it? Here's an example. And this is an example of what we walked through with one such contractor. We took 3 years worth of data and we said, what is the revenue year over year, month over month? And what is the percentile that each month will possibly bring in from a revenue goal? Break that out, overall sales goal, average sale amount, what is their close rate on contracts? How many demos are they actually running out of those opportunities that come in? Because that's a factor. Honestly, some markets will have a high cancellation rate. Other markets, if it's all repeat or referral, friends and family business, you're probably going to have this 95% demo rate. People are only going to cancel and they'll feel horrible about it if they're direly sick, right? So then we look at how much are you going to designate towards your marketing budget? And that's important. So when looking at what to designate towards your marketing budget, there's some key things to be aware of. What is your established clientele? Have you been in business for over 10 or 15 years? You probably are going to have a larger repeat and referral business. If you've only been in business for less than 10 years, you're not going to have as deep of a repeat and referral business. Or if you want to look at aggressively growing, you're going to have to designate more towards your marketing budget. So in those 3 buckets, 10 to 20 or more years, multi-generation, you might be able to get away with 4% or less of cost of marketing. If you hit in that middle bucket, less than 10 years, and you have some stretch growth goals, you're going to probably be between 5 to 8% cost of marketing. Or aggressive growth, and you want to really go strong in maybe a saturated market, you might be sitting between an 8 to 12% cost of marketing. Then there's a always crazy caveat. If you are in an election cycle year, you may have to add 1 to 2% in addition of your cost of marketing. So just layer that in. And if you're at that high end of 12%, you may be approaching on a 13, 14, or 15% cost of marketing. And that is a crazy amount of money for some markets. So hopefully there aren't any questions about that, but happy to walk through. If you're watching this webinar and you have questions after the fact, please reach out and happy to answer that. So let's look a little deeper. And what are some lead sources that you should be tracking? Because we already said, hey, we're tracking it. We don't know what we're tracking. We're putting some numbers to this. What do we start to track when it comes to lead sources? So we put together some examples of what that might look like. Digital lead sources are one bucket. Then we have traditional lead sources, and that's another bucket. And I think this is important to have an awareness of. You're going to have yet some other buckets. You may have yard signs and trucks, and you may be doing a special campaign with a school. You might have a charity bucket. The list goes on as far as lead sources. Name it, and then you can measure it. So here, these are some examples. Again, under traditional, again, you might have a canvassing team. Name them and put them on your reporting list. And this is what that list may look like. And I think this is a key component to the companies where you say, how did they do what they're doing, right? How did they go from itty bitty little, I don't know who you are, to all of a sudden dominating your market? And simple strategies like this. Every dollar has a name, especially when it comes to marketing. We have these buckets that we just looked at. Next, we look at a report such as this. And this is an advanced report, not going to lie. This is not just, hey, we're reporting on a couple of different things. No, this is really in depth, all the way from lead coming in to signed contract, right? How much revenue it's bringing in. So if this is too much to bite off, I get that, because this is where you're sitting at that 5 to 15 million on an average revenue cycle, but it's good to know what does a more advanced reporting dashboard look like. So every lead source is named here, and you can see some of the best lead sources for this company. So all of that is great. But what is the thing that makes you different? And I think this is what makes every business so exciting for me to get to work with. It's those unique components that drive your success, and detailing that out and saying, okay, I named you might have a charity, or that you are closely connected with, or you may have that you work with a school program, or you want to recognize Boss's Day, birthdays, anniversaries. The list goes on, key events that you're participating in. So many times I see contractors not pausing and taking time to document what are those key dates that we could talk about, and we could make sure that we have marketing campaigns wrapped around them. So this is just an example of saying, hey, slow down to speed up. People want to see you, they want to connect with you, and that's where great opportunities come forth. And so if you don't talk about where you're going to be, when you're going to be there, and how to connect with you, people won't connect. So don't be afraid to name it and promote it. So we finished a massive study in Q1 that looked at, for contractors with their predominant source of revenue coming from roofing, where do their leads come from? And so this study took together a pool of contractors that sat between that 1.5 to 12.5 million annual revenue. And we designated and said, out of those big buckets, what percentile did leads come from? Digital by far was one of the largest lead drivers, but we also had repeat customers, referrals, traditional marketing, and the list goes on. I think the key thing that we are able to see a trend in this topics I've covered so far is naming the lead source, and you can then see what's driving growth for your business. And you see digital has 47, almost 48% of the leads coming through that bucket, but there's subsectors, and if you name those, you have even greater visibility. And every one of these different pieces of this pie had a pretty decent chunk of money going behind it. So other things to be aware of. There are secondary lead sources that you need to name as well. So out of this digital bucket, there may have been somebody that said, hey, I just Googled you. But in reality, Amanda, you may have said to your friend, check out this company. They did that. They Googled that company and they called and they said, yep, Googled you. Or they might have done the vice versa. And they said, Amanda referenced me to call your company. So here I am. But we have a lead tracking phone number assigned to that. So things to be aware of. All right, so let's pivot. What did search engine optimization look like from a cost per lead perspective in 2022? We averaged, for the contractors that we pooled, their cost per lead was sitting at about $34. It's not a verified lead, but it is a lead that has either a phone number, somebody called in, or they filled out a form. So they have enough information to be able to take action, and their customer service team can set that appointment or direct them in the right different place. So making sure that your search engine optimization foundations are properly created is essential. And this work, once implemented, will give you great information as you move forward. Make sure you have an analytic account set up. Your contact information is consistent. We'll go into that. And then we're also going to talk about something called a Google Lighthouse score. So those 3 super practical tips will allow you to see information such as this report that we're looking at. What type of traffic is coming? Are you seeing an increase, or is it declining, or have you flatlined? That helps you measure if calls are really happening, or if calls aren't happening. Do you still have visibility, and is it an economic fluctuation that you're dealing with rather than just of your marketing maybe working or not working? So key things to be aware of. All right, so analytics, that was tip number 1. Here's some key things to be aware of. You as the business owner want to have something called administrator level access. This is non-negotiable in my book. And so when you go into your analytic account, make sure that you reference and do you have admin level access. That being said, you can jump in and you can look at all types of data. The next tip that I referenced, the second one is, do you have consistent name, address, and phone number contact information? So for this account, the red line said on average, prior to optimization, they were 23% optimized. We went through and we optimized all of their listing to make sure their name, address, and phone number was properly referenced. And now they aren't missing any phone calls. People aren't calling wrong numbers. They aren't saying, hey, I went to this address. You're no longer in business. I'm going to work with your competitor. Those seem like really, really simple things, but they're super important. And then third tip, make sure that your website is properly performing to Google's best practices. So baseline recommendations, your performance score should be 70 or higher, accessibility 90 or higher, best practices 80 or higher, and we see our search engine optimization 95 or higher. So this is an example of real life numbers of a website that I just pulled and said, are we meeting the baseline or not? And so we were able to have a really agile conversation and said, you know, some things you're crushing, other things we've got some work to do, right? And I think this is the one piece. Algorithms are always changing, and those rules are always changing. So just because you were good 6 months ago doesn't mean you're good today, and the list goes on. All right. So, Amanda, I haven't seen any questions, but if you see some, please just jump in. So let's pivot a little bit. Let's talk about reviews, the importance of reviews, and why you should make sure that you're not only asking for reviews, but you want to make sure that you're responding to them. So this is your brand, living, breathing, out there for the world to see. You can beat the bandwagon and say how amazing you are every day, but if customers or potential customers are saying negative things about you, you really need to manage that. So you should be making sure that you're managing reviews, especially negative reviews. Respond to all reviews. But when it comes to a negative review, I have some tips here, but I would recommend take a deep breath. We get incredibly passionate about making sure that we provide exceptional service, right? When that negative review comes in, you're like, so not true. I've had business owners send me an email or account managers emails and be like, I need help. Here's how I want to respond. How should I respond? And I think that's a healthy gut check. Make sure that you are pausing, asking, is this a good public facing response or not? And if it's too complicated, say, I would like to personally address this with you and help resolve that pain. Here's my contact information, and or I will be directly contacting you. So those are some of the most challenging times when you get that negative review in. Asking for or utilizing software to gain reviews on a consistent basis is an important piece. We recommend Podium. There's many other softwares out there, but you can see the consistent process of gaining reviews has an impact on not only your consumer perception, but it also will impact your ranking. I think that's critical. It is also going to easily flow into your Google local service ad campaign and campaign health. So GLSA stands for, again, Google Local Service Ads. And this is a pay per lead campaign that Google rolled out. And they started this, goodness, 5 years ago. And it is a powerful tool to be able to help generate leads and manage the cost for those leads. So with that, what I would strongly recommend is looking at, hey, how can you be on this platform? How can you optimize the platform for your business? And is it a lead source that aligns with where you're taking the company? Usually it is, but not always. So that being said, we saw on average a cost per lead was about $46 last year. It's continuing to increase this year for a variety of different reasons. But we are definitely sitting within that $55 to $65 range this year for Google Local Service Ad leads. Here's a key tip. Always make sure that you are logging into your Google Local Service Ad dashboard and you are moving your leads effectively through the pipeline. So when that happens, you will see more leads come through, and you also need to make sure that you are answering every phone call that comes in. If you're not, you probably are going to have some problems. All right. So let's pop over. Let's talk about another paid platform. Then we're going to do a little bit of pivot. And then we have some questions about social apps, platforms, all that good jazz. So just 1 minute. The paid ads on Google Ads. So we talked about Google Local Service Ads. Now let's talk about Google Ads. Last quarter, and we're hopefully soon, we're going to have Q1 of 2023 data coming in. But not quite yet. We haven't quite closed the quarter out, but in Q4, we were seeing average cost per lead on a national basis at $82.50. It is much higher in Q1, but it's always a little slower in the winter months across the country. That increase, again, we'll have officially measured, but we are seeing anywhere between not just a 5 to 12% increase. It's in some cases a 15 to 30% increase. It is drastic. So a pro ad tip is make sure that you're geographically targeting your audience effectively. And I think this is a key failure when we come in and we audit paid campaigns, is they don't always have a geographical boundary assigned to their ads. So they're spending for maybe a huge city, or they're spending for a state, or in some cases on a national basis. So that's going to manage your spend really well. All right, so social. Everyone loves social. We do it personally, and then all of a sudden we now start to blend it into our professional. Social campaigns have had, they've had performance all over the map. Algorithms for social performance, it's almost like every 2 weeks. It is an exciting, happening place. And so average cost per a social lead bouncing around the $50-ish mark. But we did see in the last 2 quarters of last year a significant rise in lead quality from social ads. So I think that's unique for the roofing market as a whole. And again, this is where having access and seeing lots of campaigns running, what's working, what's not working, and we can make recommendations. So engagement also in pages, we saw an increase in the final quarter of last year. Has it sustained? Yes and no in some markets for pages, but this is a plus to the algorithm. It has had a positive impact as of late. So that's kind of fun. Be real when it comes to your social. Don't cheat, right? Be authentic to who you are. And this is a company that I love. And if you want to see some fun stuff that they're doing, follow Kudo Construction. They're far out of your market, but some of you may know them, and they do great stuff when it comes to their social strategy. They're always thinking out of the box. and they are as human as many people are on their personal pages. So be authentic to who you are, live your core values, have a face, make sure the owners have a face as well, because people want to connect with people. That's what makes you, you. So before we go too much further, we did have a question. And Amanda, I don't know, do you want to ask that question or do you want me to jump in?
Sure, I'll ask the question. See, when you recommend any apps or social media apps we should use to market our business, which ones have you seen has the biggest impact on companies?
Yeah, so depending on what type of business you are running, I would look at having the Facebook and Instagram for your residential division. If you're running a commercial division, you will definitely want to have a strong LinkedIn campaign. We see there's many other social platforms out there, right? Twitter, and we have a TikTok, and we have Snapchat, and the list goes on, right? Understand who your audience is and where they live. Once you do that, if you are just working with a residential type of lead that you're trying to acquire, you may be able to get away with the Facebook Meta suite, and they have some amazing tools and real life data that's populating. That's a great tool. Otherwise, we have accounts that utilize a platform called Hootsuite, and there's many other different platforms out there. But honestly, Facebook itself has a phenomenal interactive platform that you can tap into, especially if you're in the residential space. LinkedIn has some fantastic free tools that you can post directly into, and they give you a significant amount of analytical data. So if you're looking at all-encompassing tool, I start with Hootsuite, and then there's actually a whole nother list of options. But think scrappy and savvy first. Understand the tools and tools well before you, and I should say the platforms and the tools they offer well, and then look for a piece of software. Because honestly, the software is going to pull in all of the data points that the platform directly provides, and it's going to give you those visualization tools. We used to see where the platform itself didn't have a calendar, didn't have as nice as scheduling features, and they do now. So those are some things to be aware of. So great question, Amanda.
Thank you.
All right. So let's pivot a little bit. And then we talked about a bunch of different lead sources. But honestly, how do you calculate if those lead sources are actually working for you or not? So here's an equation that you can run to be able to understand how many leads are you getting, how much did you spend, and is it really a valuable lead source for you and your business? And I think this is where it's important. Like Amanda, I referenced, you referred a friend to work with this company, and yet that customer service team member said, oh, they told us we were found through Google. When in actuality, it might not have been the case. So that you have to make sure when you do these calculations, take it with a grain of salt. We are always going to see a higher cost per lead when it comes to traditional media. That would be your radio, your TV, maybe it'd be a direct mail piece. So have an awareness that every lead source has a different cost per lead acquisition. Track it. And as you track it, you're going to be able to see some trends. So your average cost per lead on radio or TV is going to waffle between $200 to $400. But you'll definitely see a reduction in cost per lead when it comes to your digital sources or people who say, I just see you everywhere. And thus, that is the impact and the power of a brand. And you're building the brand through your radio and TV or traditional marketing efforts. So that's a key piece to be aware of. Now, here's something incredibly fun. And I wanted to make sure we gained an awareness of this, is making sure that you understand who your persona is, where they live, how they buy, what type of buying patterns do they have, and maybe some information about their home and family. This is what we call a persona targeting map, and it gives us the ability to visualize. And there's many other different types of reports that we pull of who is the most saturated persona in the markets that you serve. And the closer you drill in on, the better the persona information becomes. But for this zip code that I just randomly pulled, we see that this is named the up and coming families, and then has a little bit of information. But as I take back and peel back the layers, I have the ability to see how many of the individuals in this area own homes. What is their pain points? How old are their homes? What is their income? What types of jobs do these people usually have at the highest saturation? And that's really important information. So I just had a conversation with a contractor, and he's rolling out his TV campaign. And we're utilizing this information to truly understand what are the pain points we should talk about to ensure that that commercial and that campaign truly connects to his audience. So it's an exciting discovery. And I would strongly recommend, if you don't have persona targeting capabilities within your current marketing strategy, that's something that we're always working on and providing to our contractors or to contractors on a one-off basis so that you can understand that audience, speak to them, or maybe reposition your marketing to different geographical areas based off of the persona or type of user that your services really align the best with. So that's a fun opportunity to be able to say, hey, let's roll up our sleeves and let's do our best work ever in 2023. So there's so much more that I could share, but what I find is so many times when you don't have these foundational pieces in place, you usually lack the ability to go beyond. And so we talked about some foundational components, we talked about some advanced components. And in all of that, roll back to the foundational components on an annual basis, on an 18-month basis. I was just talking to an account, and I said, you know what? We're looking at deploying 3 new, really exciting new things. And he goes, yeah, I'm so excited. And I said, but in those 3 things, we actually have 3 old things that we picked up the rock on. We looked underneath the rock. And he goes, how did that happen? Well, it came forth that he changed some staff members. The process isn't being followed. Algorithms changed. And so we have opportunity to elevate and open up more doors in an existing marketing campaign. We want to keep it alive. We need to change it. We need to tweak it. So never say, I don't have to go back to foundations. Go back to basics, slow down to speed up, and you're going to see great things happen. If you have any questions, if you'd like a free marketing analysis or information about some of our services, give us a shout. We're happy to help. And that's one of the reasons why we're honored to be a member of the RCAW, because we believe in helping the community that helps us. So thank you so much, Amanda, and Jen, for allowing me to share a little bit about what we're seeing in the market.
Thank you, Anna. I agree that sales teams need to work with the marketing teams. I've learned so much today. SEO growth blows my mind. I appreciate the Google tools you provided, which are an amazing marketing opportunity. I also agree to be real and authentic on social media. That really has helped us. Art Unlimited has so many important foundation pieces to grow your company to success. Please reach out to them if you have any questions. Anna, will we be able to share your PowerPoint with our members today?
100%. Yep. Happy to
Awesome.
share that.
Thank you so much, Anna. I also want to bring up RCAW has an exciting Sporting Clays event coming up on April 14th. Come one, come all for a great day of shooting clays. Please register online at www.rcaw.com or give us a call at 253-691 Oh, sorry, 48, sorry, gave the wrong total phone number. 253-561-7229. We hope to see you there. Have a wonderful week. Thank you again, Anna. We appreciate
Always a
all you
pleasure.
do.
Yes. No, thanks so much. Take care.
Thank you.